Whether you're dreaming of becoming a lead teacher, stepping into your first director role, or leading a thriving childcare program of your own, you don't have to figure it out alone. Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair, where leadership coach, speaker, co-author, and multi-center owner Erica Saccoccio shares the wisdom she's gained from decades of leading successful early childhood programs and developing future leaders. Each episode is designed to help you use your voice, lead with confidence, build a positive workplace culture, and become the kind of leader your team is excited to follow. Expect real talk, big laughs, bold leadership truth, practical strategies, and the encouragement to believe in yourself every step of the way. Because when Erica teaches leadership, she's teaching what she's lived. The Child Care Director's Chair is proudly sponsored by Watch Me Grow, supporting childcare leaders with innovative technology that helps build stronger programs and stronger family connections. Together, they believe leadership isn't a title, it's an action. Pull up your chair, future leader. Here's Erica Saccoccio.
Hey guys, it's your girl Erica here, and you are tuned into the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. Today we are going to talk about back to school readiness as a leader. We know back to school is not just refreshing your classrooms or ordering supplies and completing the enrollment paperwork. There's so much more than that, even more than the preparation of lessons. It's about examining whether our people are leading our programs, if they have clarity, if they have confidence, if they have systems and the support necessary to guide their teams through one of the most demanding seasons of the year. A beautiful classroom cannot compensate for unclear expectations, or a detailed calendar cannot repair a disconnect from your team. So it's so important that we're connected together. Even the strongest curriculum will feel like a struggle if the environment is one that educators do not feel prepared for, valued, or supported. So I'm so excited because our guest today is all the way from the other side of, not the country, guys, like the world. So I'm so very excited about that. We're going to talk today about leadership, what you need to know as you're getting ready for your back to school time, and what you need in your toolbox. Again, I'm Erica Saccoccio, and we are joined today by Melonie Kareem. She's from the Let's Talk Early Years podcast. She is amazing. Maybe you already follow her on Instagram. If you don't, head on over. Of course, we'll put the links below. But welcome to the show.
Erica, how exciting is this? We finally managed the time difference, and here we are.
Here we are. I love it. So tell folks a little bit about yourself. You're certainly very accomplished early learning professional. Tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time and your patience for getting us here. This is a huge time difference for you and I. So I really appreciate that, Erica, and for having me on your platform. You certainly do have a wonderful impact that you're having on the East Coast of the USA over there. So well done to you too. A little bit about me, as you've mentioned, I'm Melonie. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa, and I've been in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai particularly. I've been here for the last 10 years, Erica, but I've been working in early years for the last 30 years. Don't try to calculate how old I am. So a lovely career, a broad career. I started out my career, as most of us do, as a teaching assistant. And then I started my own afternoon club, and I became a teacher and moved through the ranks that way, which I found, standing on this side and looking back at where my career started. I would want that for everyone in leadership. It gives one such a wonderful empathy and understanding of what each person is experiencing in the day in the nursery setting. So I'm really grateful for the journey.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think so many of us do start that way. And not just the empathy, because that's certainly important, but also to really understand the work that we do and at the different levels and how we evolve as educators. And I think as a leader, especially as we're growing and multiplying other leaders in the space, it allows us to really share our own personal journeys, and then people can kind of take what we've learned. Sometimes it gives a little shortcut or be able to avoid some of the mistakes that we made. But I find that even now, right, the season that we're in now, we always are learning. And I know people say that a lot, but it is really so true for our field. Like, we always keep pushing for what is the standard and keep moving towards quality.
I
When you
agree.
talk, when you talk about programs being like truly ready for a new school year, and what should leaders be examining beyond the classroom environments? What can we talk a little bit about that? What do you think people should be doing right now to really not only anchor their team but their self, because it's a very busy time?
Yeah, I agree with you also, Erica, that, the regulated child is largely dependent on the regulated adult. We know that, but it kind of all falls apart on that first day of school when they come in crying and they crying and the mom's crying and the dad's getting agitated because he needs to go to work. It all kind of all the wheels come off on that day, when we kind of lose sight of what's really important in that moment. So I think you touched on it really, really succinctly when you started out, and you were saying, let's talk about the systems. But before we talk about the systems, Erica, you've got a feedback on the feed there.
I do.
I think it's your
Uh,
AC. Could be your AC.
I ah oh, it is probably my AC. It is probably my
Okay.
AC. Hold on one second. Okay, I shut it off. Can you still hear it?
I can, but I don't know if it's me. I don't know. You'll check the audio once we're done. Sorry
Yes,
about
yes,
that, but
ma'am.
I thought
That's okay.
better now than later while we're
Yes,
chatting.
ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So I wanted to say that the systems are important, as you mentioned, but we need to start with the people operating those systems first, right? And it all begins with us. It begins with us as the leaders. Before we can translate those systems and before we can empower our teams, it's going to start with me as the leader, because ultimately I hold the culture of the nursery setting in everything that I do and in everything that I say, because all eyes are looking at me. Every child, every adult, every stakeholder are looking to me to lead us smoothly through the
Mhm.
coming academic year. So the self-regulated child, like I'm saying, is usually reliant on the self regulated adult, but regulated adults are going to rely on a regulated leader. So it's a bit of a cliche. It's a bit of a cliche for me to say this, but when I go back into school, I need to know that I am rested and that I am ready to take on the stress. And stress is not a bad thing, but to take on what's coming for the new year. So I want to say, let's go back rested and let's go back with the systems in place. And we can talk a little bit more about those systems.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that it is nice for those that have a summer break to be able to have replenished. Some programs run year round. My program runs year round. And I think taking care of yourself is so important. So we had talked earlier before we had come on the podcast about why you started your podcast. I started my podcast after a really tough season in my life. And this became part of my therapy, if you will. Just the talk. I knew I couldn't be the only educator who was burnt out. And so I just started talking about it. And that was kind of how, the birth of this show. Um, I think there's a lot of ways to take care of yourself and to anchor yourself, but having support as a leader, because we do support everybody and everything in our space, but who's taking care of us? So it's so important that we make sure we take care of us, that we, and you had talked about why you started your podcast for community. I think that that's an important piece, is having
Yeah.
community that supports you as a leader as well, because all eyes are on you, and as a human being, it can feel really heavy to have all of that on you. So you
Absolutely.
have to,
You know,
yeah,
Erica, I always say that the leader's role is quite a lonely place to be. You know, the
yeah,
English say heavy is the head that wears the crown. But we, as professionals, as leaders, we understand the boundaries that need to exist in order for us to execute professionally, right? And so even though we are friendly and we are more than amicable with our teams, we are not friends. We are not. And so, who are the people that we allow ourselves to be vulnerable with? We need
mm,
that community. So, it's not just any community. I'm not just looking for a group of ladies, that are really waiting for me to vent and then using that information as perhaps looking at is she really capable, or
yeah,
looking at are these her weak points. But I need to be able to find a community of people that can relate to what my challenges are. So we're
hmm,
looking for a specific group of professionals who understand the industry, who understand the work that I'm doing. Now, trust me, Erica, my husband knows everyone I work with. He knows everything they do. He knows how much leave time they've taken because I vent to him all the time. Is that helpful? No, it is not. It's not. It is not. As opposed to me having an Erica who I can share with and who immediately understands the context of what I'm experiencing, right?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that I do have a group like that. Thank goodness. And I love it because as much as I pour into them, they pour right back into me. And so that
Yes,
reciprocal relationship really is like the foundation of for lack of a better word, my sanity and my strength at the same time. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, what are your best maybe strategies or tips or advice for a leader to, besides having support? What are some other strategies or tips you have for them to prepare as they move into the school year?
I think the systems, Erica. You mentioned it. You started out with that. You said we need to be able to have the confidence, and I think that the confidence and the systems goes hand in hand
Mm,
because we need to be able to rely on those systems so that we're not always having to react in the moment. That's when the wheels come off. The wheels come off when we're needing to make those momentary decisions, in that moment. Where does this go? Where does this child go? Which class is this child supposed to be? Where's the bag supposed to be? What's the policy for this? The child just got sick. He's overwhelmed. Mom needs to go to work, but they haven't filled in the registration form. Oh no, they haven't paid. That's when it all comes apart. But when we've got those systems in place, immediately as a leader, my confidence and my ability to show up and be present in that moment takes me to another level of success, right? We want that present leader. We want that leader that knows that she knows that she knows that the policies and the procedures to make this operation run smoothly are in place. My team have been trained. I've communicated this not just in one inset training at the start of the academic year where we've crammed this into
mm,
them and then we've taken these policies and put them
yeah,
on the top shelf in the office waiting for inspection. No, it needs to become the culture and the
yes,
heartbeat of our nursery. So empowering my team to write those policies and procedures together, so we create the systems that everybody not only understands but they are accountable to it, because they've written it.
Yeah. I was just talking to my after school team yesterday. So I have 3 folks on the admin team there, and we were just talking about roles and responsibilities as we were heading into the new year. We said, well, this is what people had been doing. Are they the right people in the right spot? Do they have the right jobs? What things do we need to modify? Because once you write a policy, a lot of times you're not really always revisiting that unless something happens. So I think it's really important that at the beginning of the school year, you look through that to make sure everything is where you need to be now in the current situation now. Because oh my gosh, I started 27 years ago and 18 years ago when I opened my own schools. Certainly the policies in the handbook would not be adequate for today's setting, right? So going in every year before you need a policy to make sure that it meets what you need to do now, because
I
every year
agree.
changes. Yeah, every year
I agree.
changes.
I agree. And I think a key there would be then, Erica, to have the team on board with you. Like you just saying, you discussed with your team, are the right people in the right roles?
Mhm.
Does this policy work for us? Does this procedure work for us in the current situation that we find ourselves in? Previously we wrote this policy because that gate didn't work, or that door didn't open, or that area was the reception area, but now we've changed it. It's actually our extracurricular area. So, how does the procedure look around that now? Previously, we had 4 people supporting that team in that area. Now we only have 1. What does the procedure look like around that? What
Yeah.
works for our team on the ground, right? We don't want endless paperwork, Erica. We don't want endless pieces of procedure lying around for the sake of compliance. We want these things to work for our team so that our systems run smoothly.
The other thing that I love when I look back and when we're looking at our systems is our team grows year after year. So their skill set changes. So what
Yes.
one person may have had, maybe they're not the best one on the team because someone else has, been able to do it in a better way or came up with something innovative. And so that was kind of what we were finding when we were looking over the roles and responsibilities. Like, wow, we have 4 more people who can now do our tours. It isn't just narrowed down to 2. So now we've got 4, right? So looking at the talents of your teams, and when we talk about multiplying leaders, this is a great example of how you can, right? Giving those stretch opportunities of different things that they can do outside of the classroom as well. My teaching team loves to do that. They love to learn another thing. But I usually, again, like you said, asking them, like, where do you see yourself? What areas do you want to grow in? And I think that's, so important, as you had mentioned, to really have them be part of it. Even when you're not just the policies and procedures, but here's another example of when you're changing parenting platforms. We just decided to do that. We have 3 schools. We only changed it at 1, and we have the staff trying it out and saying, give us your feedback before we launch this, between, our whole company to, 300 families. I need your feedback. Is it easy for you to use? Is it, what do you like better with this one as opposed to what we were using? So I think a big part of preparing for the year is, as you said, bringing your team on board and looking through everything, your policies, your parenting apps, even your supplies, your furniture, the way that the room is set up. Really get them to buy in is how you're going to have a successful year.
I agree with you. And Erica, we've done so much if we've done just that, because immediately our teams feel valued and respected and seen. Immediately they have an affinity with the vision of the leader because we've brought them on board, as opposed to autocratically saying to them, this is what we do, this is how we do it. We have brought them on board and said, how do we do it? What are your strengths? what are the areas where you might need a bit of help in. We've seen them, we've valued them, and that is the key right there for the smooth execution of our systems. Because people want to be valued, people want to be seen, people want to feel that they belong and that they are a part of where they are not just going, but growing, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What are your best ideas on how to grow? Maybe somebody who's listening right now, like, I want to grow my team, but I'm not really sure how. What are your best ideas around that?
I think it's this. I think it's this ability for the leader to use the day to see the strengths of her team and also to understand where their areas are where they not quite confident, and then to make that decision. And this is now reliant on the leader to make that decision to say, what are we going to work on, what are her strengths, and where are we going to push her for the needs of the business, and what are the areas where she might not be that successful, and where are we going to support her as a person and as a professional. Because we're operating in that space, right? Where we need to make the decision A for the people, but B for the business, and to marry that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So looking at what are your strengths, what are your challenges, and then prioritizing where is going to be the impact. But it also speaks about the leader that's very present and the leader that's connected with her team, Erica. We're not just sitting in our office and barking all these orders and having all these papers and doing our busy work, because Lord knows there's
yeah.
a lot of that work. There is a lot of that work. You know it and I know it,
I
but I
do,
think we
yeah.
need to be intentional about our time on the floor and our
Mhm,
time being visible and supporting them on the ground. My team knows I have two pairs of shoes in the nursery. The one pair of shoes comes out when I need to meet the parents in the morning, and it comes out again when I need to meet the parents in the afternoon and look my professional self. For the rest of the day, I am down there with them. We've got cameras all over. I can see my stuff. I can see where support is needed. Yes, are we operating in ratios? Of course we are. Is compliance there? Of course we are. But we've all had a bad day. We've all had
mhm,
children who are sick at the same time and they need an extra pair of hands. And
mhm.
I am not too senior to take on that
Yeah,
role and to go and support my team. And again, in that moment, my team trusts me to support them. My team trusts that I see them and I see their needs. Yeah.
yeah. Melanie, we need more leaders like that, though, because I cannot tell you how many staff or teachers, I don't want to call them staff, but teachers have come to me from other schools. And when they see you working like that, or working in a classroom, or doing anything, picking up the vomit, taking out the trash, they are like surprised. And I've
Hmm.
never seen this before. And so we need more people. We need to talk about this. We need more leaders that are visible on the floor, that aren't, it aren't just there for the families, but also there equally for their teachers. I think that's really important. Let's talk about, sometimes we have to have difficult conversations, right? We talk about growing our team and, knowing that, but sometimes there's difficult conversations. Let's talk about that for a minute. What is your best strategies, right? Because sometimes we have somebody who maybe isn't growing in our school, or maybe isn't the right fit any longer. And people can really outgrow in a good way, or outgrow in maybe not the best way. They get complacent, they get burnt out, whatever it is that is happening. What are your thoughts about having those difficult conversations?
Hmm. Erica, it comes down to relationship. I think these difficult conversations become easier when we do have a relationship. And the relationships are built in what we previously spoke about. The relationships are built in those moments of challenge, of success, of recognizing your strengths, of celebrating your birthday. Those are when the relationships are built. When I mentor you, when I coach you, when I pull you aside, when I give you the pat on the back publicly, those are when the relationships are built. So having the difficult conversation becomes that much easier when we've built that relationship of trust,
Yeah.
because you know that what I'm about to say to you comes from a
From
place
love.
of
Yeah.
respect. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not victimizing you. I'm not trying to attack you, because you know me. I say that very often. I say that to my team members. I say, you know me. You've worked with me. You've seen me on the down and dirty. You've seen me in my best shoes and my best get up. You know me. So you need to trust me in this moment that this is not for you, or this is for you. And you need to push through. You need to finish this qualification, because there's something else that we have in mind for you on the other side of this. So it goes with relationship.
You said that so eloquently. Communication is so important, right? We've talked about that throughout this episode. What do you say, or what's your advice to maybe an emerging leader who maybe doesn't have quite all of the communication skills that they need? What is your, maybe what's your advice on how can they get better at communication? What should they be looking for in their self, being self-reflective when it comes to communicating with their team?
I'm going to tell them firstly to download your podcast and then download my podcast and listen to that all the time, because you're going to understand the language of the early years. See,
Mm,
when you invest in your own professional development, and I'm saying this lightly, I'm saying download our podcast, but what are you really doing? You are investing in your professional development. You are investing into, how did you open? You said the confidence. The
mm.
confident leader is able to communicate and articulate clearly, because I'm speaking from a place of the inherent knowledge that exists on the inside of me, right? So
Yes.
that investment in self. And secondly, I want to say, Erica, honey, you cannot do this alone. You need to find a mentor. You need to find someone. It doesn't have to be your immediate community, but it needs to be someone who is doing really well in the space where you hope to flourish. Go and give them their flowers, and go and sit at their feet, and go and learn, and go and listen, go and follow, go and comment on their, ask their questions. But find yourself a mentor, somebody who can reciprocate, and somebody who can invest into who you are becoming.
Yeah. That is great advice. The other thing I want to say to the folks that are listening is how I became confident and certainly was immersing myself around people who had been doing this much longer than me, but also being really self-reflective. After you have a
Hmm.
conversation, if you're feeling like, that didn't really go quite how I had hoped, think about what you could have done different. And if you feel like maybe you didn't handle something in the best way, take accountability for that too and go back to
Yeah.
that person and say, I don't feel good about the way that ended. Can we revisit that? And ask them, how did they feel that it went? But I love to be self-reflective and think about, push myself like, yeah, that part was good, but I think I could have done better around here.
Hmm.
So being self-reflective in your practice, and as again, when you're learning something new, you're going to make mistakes. And you have to know that you're going to make mistakes. It's never going to be perfect. We're still making mistakes. 30 years in, we still make mistakes because we are humans and this is human work. And everybody takes information in differently. We learn differently. So I think it's really important to be self-reflective as a leader. And when we're communicating, it isn't just our words that are
Hmm.
communicating. It is our
Mm-hmm.
tone. It
I
is our
agree.
body language. It is all
Yeah.
of those pieces. And like you had said earlier, and certainly the relationship has a piece of that, in a good and a bad way. If you've had, several not wonderful conversations with somebody, they may start to perceive that you're always on them, that you're hopping on them, right? So you really want to make sure that they understand again that you're not, and be able to back up why you're redirecting, whether it's a policy, whether it's best practice, and be able to show them and guide them. So sometimes I think that is hard for a new emerging person because they want everybody to like them, and they want to feel like they're doing a good job, and they want to not ruffle feathers and make waves. But sometimes we have to make waves sometimes. Actually, a lot of times in this field when we're holding standards, right?
I
Standards are
agree.
hard.
I agree.
Yeah, standards are hard. It takes work. This is a craft. This is a
Hmm.
craft. Becoming a early learning professional is a craft, and it's something we always have to continue to work on. Um, let's talk about what practices help leaders protect their decision-making, capacity, because we make a lot of decisions every day, like we had talked at the beginning, maybe that emotional regulation and the ability to remain present for their teams.
Oh, Erica, again, I'd go back to, as much as I have the systems for my team and for my setting, what are the systems for me? What does
Mm,
my day look like? Protecting my energy, protecting my time, what does that look like? What are my routines? What are my rituals that I engage in so that I remain grounded and present in the role that I'm executing? It comes back to, what is my why, right? What am I here to do? And I'm thinking so many things. I want to say to you, before I do policies and procedures with my team, I always share with them their job descriptions. So I say to them, this is what you are responsible for. And so at the same time, I need to know, what am I responsible for? Yes, I am the manager. Yes, I am the leader. I have an overarching responsibility, but the execution of all of those tasks that are there are not my responsibility. So the ability to delegate and to separate from those tasks are what's going to keep me focused on what I need to do. I've said so many
yeah.
things. I don't know if I've answered you succinctly.
You did. No, yeah, you absolutely did. And I think that is something that's really important because a lot of times when we walk in the door, there are all these things, competing needs. We haven't even put down our bag yet. So I do think it is important to run your day rather than let the day run you. Now, certainly there will
Absolutely.
be an occasion, there will be an emergency that might take over your whole day, but that should not be the everyday practice. And that's why
Yeah.
so many folks get burnt out because what
Yeah.
will happen is the whole day will go by. And I know at some point, right, we talk about growing and going through the field. At some point, we've all done this. After about 30 years, you start to learn, oh, I can't do this anymore. But you will, at the end of the day, sit at your desk. Everybody has left for the day. And you're like, oh my God, I got nothing done that I
Yeah.
had planned to do for the day. And
No.
and and if you are a new leader, I'm gonna say new leader under 10 years, this happens all of the time. And this is probably one of the number one things that causes your burnout is letting
Yeah.
the day run you. Yeah. So you have
Absolutely.
to
So
have
asking
yeah.
yourself, what is your rhythm and what is your ritual for the day? Erica, for me, it is it is an absolute that I arrive before the rest of my team. I arrive every morning before anyone else. And I don't leave last. Please understand that. I'm not the last to leave in the afternoon, but I am the first to arrive every day because I believe that my presence sets the
Mhm.
tone for the day. And so I am able to go and oversee. Have we prepared? Are our classes ready? Yes, the risk assessment has been done. Fortunately for us in the UAE, we have a nurse present in every nursery school setting. So the actual risk assessment of the nursery school is her responsibility. So for me, I'm giving a glance over, is everything ready for the day, and that gives me a calm presence as well, because now I've been able to put down my handbag, actually
Hmm.
open my laptop, check my calendar for the day. So when the children do start arriving, in the back of my mind, I am able to prioritize the tasks because I know, oh, at
Yeah.
10 o'clock, I have this meeting. But for now, from 8 until 9, I can definitely sit and read a story with this little one because teacher's running late in the traffic, or because
Yes.
these twins are having a hard time, or these two new children are arriving today. I can absolutely prioritize. So it's about organization of the leader, knowing and really being focused on and really holding this ritual and routine of your own day to a very high standard.
Yeah, I
You
think
can't be
that's a,
late for
a
work,
great
Erica.
strategy.
You can't arrive
Yeah.
late. You know that if you arrive late as the leader, come on, you're just setting the bar really low for everyone else.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
If you're arriving frazzled and oh my goodness and what's
Yeah.
happening, you honestly, you just set the tone and the pace for
Yes.
the rest of how things are going to run. So arrive your best self. When they arrive, they see you as your best self, right?
Yeah.
And immediately.
Yeah, I think that is a great strategy, being the first one in, because I think what will happen is many times, many of the owners I know, they come in later because they say, well, once I get there, I never can leave, right? But
Right.
you're setting the precedent for that. And if you're what's important to you, if it being at home to have dinner with your family is important to you, then be the first one there so that you can leave
Yes,
at 4 or, whatever that time
absolutely.
looks like for you. But so that you can do
Absolutely.
that. And the other thing is I started really as part of my self-care going to the gym, but I would go in the morning, but I would also notice that as soon it was like 7:01 and I knew the school was open, my mind would not be on what I was doing, be like, oh, I hope everything's okay at the school. Whereas opposed to if I go at night and the school is closed, I'm fully present in what I'm doing. So
Absolutely.
going in the
Absolutely.
mornings is a great strategy, and giving yourself that time to settle in. So that's an amazing tip. One of the things I want to talk about, this is a fun thing, but one of the things I want to talk about, we both share the belief that early childhood educators and leaders must use their voices to shape the sector. Too often decisions are made about early childhood professionals without us being at the table, right? You use your voice, I use my voice. What does it mean for an educator or leader to develop professional agency to be able to um, help other folks not in this field understand the work that we do?
I think it's exactly that, to engage. If you don't have the confidence, like perhaps an Erica or a Melanie, to go and sit in front of a camera or go sit in a studio and put herself out there for all the critics of the world, to view and behold, because not everybody has that confidence. Not everybody. Well, call it confidence, call it the Lulu, whatever it is. If you don't, it's okay. But what we do need for you is to engage with those voices. What we do need for you is to speak when those conversations are coming up. What we do need for you is to attend the events like what you have hosted recently. We need the educators to attend these kind of platforms, these kind of professional discussions, so that we bolster the conversation together. And it's not just Melanie's voice and Erica's voice in isolation. No,
Mm.
certainly we're a community of professionals giving the conversation to the rest of society. So each one of our voices are important. How we contribute is entirely up to us.
Yeah. And I love, something earlier you had said about how we so often work in these silos. I think it's so important that all educators, whether you are in early childhood, elementary, middle, we should all be respecting each other for sure. We should all be supporting each other in terms of when big decisions happen at the policy levels, that we should all be advocating for each other. not just like, I hate to say the word special interest, but even if the change in funding doesn't affect you as an educator with the age group that you're working with, it's important that we all as educators stand up for education, children, and families. And so I think that that is
Absolutely.
important. Stop being in the
Absolutely.
silos. Um, what do you say to people who maybe, well, why do you think it's important for people to start to craft their voice? Because like you said, like sometimes people don't have the confidence, they're not sure how to do it. Maybe what are some strategies that you would recommend for them to at least get started? Because confidence, we know, comes with practice, right? Day one, I was not as confident behind the mic, right? And I certainly wasn't in front of a video, right? It was me by myself in the corner talking to myself, right? You get more confident as you go. So where's the starting point? What would your best advice be for somebody who's like, I feel like I have some things to say. What you're talking about sounds good, but I don't even know where to start.
Do you have a friend? Talk to her. Do you have three colleagues that you sit together with at lunchtime? Share your idea with them. Ascertain how that's being received. Ask them for the feedback, depending on where you want your conversation to go, right, Erica? If you're thinking of taking your conversation to perhaps a platform like a podcast or a blog or whatever the case might be, write for the school newsletter. Ask your manager, ask the owner, can I write an article for the parents newsletter? Is there something I can contribute to the parent app? So it doesn't have to be this loud, outrageous platform that you create. Like you said, you and I didn't start in that place. This is only the visible part of the journey, but we started with having those conversations in those little one-on-one conversations, and suddenly two people join that conversation, and you suddenly realize that, oh my goodness, they're actually paying attention to what I'm saying, and actually I've got something valuable to contribute. So you don't need an audience, you don't need a following. What you do need is relevance, and what you do need is expertise. So don't take the mic just because you want to talk. Don't write just because you want to put words out. Please be confident in your content, in your understanding of the sector, and then by all means, let's hear it, let's engage. Communities are in need of people like you and I.
Yeah, that is great advice. And again, just start small. It doesn't have to be anything big. So as we start to wrap up, Melanie, I know you have so many wonderful pieces of wisdom to share. What are some things you'd like to share with the audience that I haven't asked you?
Oh my, we've had such a fantastic conversation. I feel like I've met my old friend today, right? I feel like I was just chatting with a colleague, with a friend, with someone I've known for so long. But really, it's because of our history in the industry that affinity is there. So um, I think, well, we've touched on really so many things, Erica, but if there's one thing that I could really emphasize is the power of community. I mean, I follow you, and I see so much of the coming together of professionals that you encourage and that you support. This is where the success of our industry ultimately lies. Ultimately, the success of our industry lies in the communities of best practice, in what we're able to share, in what we're able to give, in how we're able to support one another. So, if there's anything I'd leave you with, it is that.
It is community. All right. Want to do something fun? Let's do something fun. All
Okay.
right. All right, let's do it. So this is going to be, I'm going to call it the lightning round. You can just answer this as just whatever comes off the top of your head. All right, you ready?
Okay.
Okay. What is one leadership practice every director should strengthen?
Humility,
Okay. What is one habit leaders should leave behind before the new school year?
organization,
Okay. What is one conversation every team should have before welcoming children and families?
How do we do it?
What is one reminder you would give to a leader who feels overwhelmed by everything that needs to be done?
You're not on your own. You don't have to do this alone.
What is one way early childhood professionals can begin using their voices to shape the sector?
Comment on all of Erica's posts on Instagram.
Thank you. All right, guys, you're so sweet. Back to school preparation is not only about preparing spaces, it's about preparing our people. It's about ensuring that leaders have the capacity to lead, educators understand what is expected of them, and families feel respected, informed, and organizations have systems strong enough to support the work after the excitement of the first weeks has passed. Our leadership toolkit must contain more than schedules and checklists and policies. We have to have the professional courage, strategic thinking, communication, accountability, of course, empathy, and the confidence to use our voices. The future of early childhood education cannot be shaped without the people who understand the work from the inside. Our experience matters, your voices matter, our stories matter, and your voice belongs in every conversation where decisions are being made about children, families, and educators in early childhood. So thank you so much, Melanie. And listeners can learn more about your work on the Let's Talk Early Years podcast. I'm going to put the link below for your podcast, your Instagram, and your website. I'll put all of that below in the show notes. Guys, if you haven't checked out her podcast, I'm telling you right now, get on over there. She is a true gem. For those of you who are listening today and always, you know I love you. Have a great day.
Before you go, ask yourself, what's one leadership lesson you'll put into action this week? Then share one takeaway with your leadership team, because Erica believes that great leaders don't just grow themselves, they help others grow too. Ready to keep growing? Join Erica inside the ECE Trailblazers Leadership Membership at childcaredirectorschair.com. Proudly sponsored by Watch Me Grow. Together, we believe leadership isn't a title, it's an action. And we'll save your chair for next time.